Hey everyone, Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Big 12 podcast, recording this on the 29th of January 2023, running this as the Monday show, part two of our SEC Big 12 Challenge review. The Big 12 wins 7-3. We've got the big guns to recap. We've got a Texas-Tennessee game. We've got a big Kansas victory. Kansas State gets a big win as well. Baylor holds on against Arkansas. That and a whole lot more coming up on this edition of Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Big 12 podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Please do. Trying to get to 3,200 here by the end of the month, so we're very, very close. Please help us get there. Subscribing, it means a lot to us. Follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You guys can find me at Josh Neighbors _. You guys, once again, find the show at LOBig12, and you guys can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Once again, please subscribe. Part one of our recap, the early games: Iowa State, Oklahoma's win over Alabama, West Virginia's win as well. All of that is in part one of our show. The first four games the day we're there. We'll do the remaining six here. So two parts, because there was just so much to get to. I don't want to do it in one show. Everybody deserves some shine, especially the teams that got the job done. And some of them that didn't deserve some attention too. Texas we'll get to. But the big game of the day was the nightcap. That was Kansas going on the road to Rupp Arena and beating a Kentucky team that had been playing much better as of late. And they go there, they win the game. And I thought it was not like super convincing fashion, right? But, you know, they were able, or they were ahead for most of the game. Every single time they did the big shot, they seem to have got one. A lot of them came from one Jalen Wilson, but they end up getting the victory 77-68. They get to 17-4 overall. And more importantly, they avoid Bill Self's first four-game losing streak as the head coach of the Kansas basketball Jayhawks. What do you want to say about this game? Look, this line opened at KU -1.5, and people jumped all over Kentucky. I think it closed at like 3. I think I saw it last at 2.5 at the FanDuel Sportsbook, partner here at Locked On. Saw them and saw that, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. I'm going to bet that. And then I bet a lot on KU, to be honest, just because they've never lost 4 in a row. And also, guys, when they played their last game, they played Monday. So they had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all to rest, to recoup, to prepare, and they did an excellent job. Obviously, the big star of this game is Jalen Wilson, right? 22 points, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 assists. I don't think he'll win National Player of the Year. I believe Zach Edey is on that trajectory right now. But I'll tell you what, I still like Kansas's odds to win the Big 12. I've said that a bunch on this show. And oftentimes the best player on the best team might get the award unless there's just somebody who is so insurmountable that they get the nod. Jalen Wilson is the best player on who I think will end up being the best team in this league. He's averaging 21 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. He's shooting 43% from the field, which is, it's not like this tremendous, amazing number, but on the year, 43 from the field, 35 from 3, and 78 from the line. And they really do rely on him a whole lot. And I mentioned this too. His numbers are even better on the road. And he had another great night, 50% shooting from the floor last night, 2 of 3 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line as well. The 8 rebound tonight. He's just a player that, it felt like every single corner. I think he hit a big 3 from each corner, right? He had one in the, I guess you could say, near wing to the camera, left side, and then the far wing, the far corner. If it's looking at your television screen, he had one at the bottom left of your TV screen, one at the top left of your TV screen. 2 massive shots. I think one of them put the lead at 4, and then one put it at around 6, I want to say. Could be wrong on that, but that's just a guy that teams might just need to start considering doubling him because nobody can cover this guy single. And he does a really good job, I think, sometimes of he'll pause sometimes when he catches the basketball and does a great job of saying, and not rushing him. And sometimes when guys get the ball on the perimeter, especially, you might think if you pass fake or you think or you shot fake, I don't want you taking that three because you've already thought about it. Jalen does a great job, I think, of collecting himself and then firing up a three. And he's been a really good, a very effective 3-point shooter, 35%. Not amazing. But he takes a good number of threes. And I think he actually shoots them pretty effectively. And it feels like every big 3-pointer he takes, he makes. I'd love to see his splits for the second half. I feel like he is a really effective second half player. I also want to say the job that KJ Adams did was awesome. He got the 4 fouls, sure, and did not rack up the rebounds, but he was 8 for 10 from the floor, 17 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 rebounds. And I've said this a bunch, I think he did it again. His best attribute, because he is kind of their big guy, he's really good at finding spaces and defenses. If it's a pick and roll, he's very good at not going too deep into the post. So he's good at what I would just say being available to the guards. And then also when he's available in that space, the big has to come up and play him. And if he doesn't play him, he's actually got a pretty nice floater. He's got a pretty good game from 10, 11, 12 feet, kind of approaching the rim. And he will finish with both hands, too. I've actually seen him finish with both hands. We've seen it a good deal from that distance. So I thought that was huge. And we'll talk about their defense in a second, but DeJuan Harris on defense, I thought was a huge piece of what happened for Kansas that went right. Also, his offense, I know he didn't have this amazing offensive output, but he scored 8 points, which is more than he scored in all of his last 4 games combined. 3 for 8, 2 for 4 from 3, right? So 50% from 3, taking and making half your threes is good. And then 8 assists on the night. So the fact that, and also only 2 turnovers. So the fact that in 37 minutes of play, he was a guy that was not searching for his jumper, but at the times where they gave him shots, he took more of them. All right. And he needs to at least be a threat. I thought the guys on Field of 68 After Dark made a good point. They compared it to the Marcus Garrett kind of approach that Kentucky took a few years ago. Make Marcus Garrett make shots, because as much as Bill Self loved Marcus Garrett, he was not a particularly effective offensive player. Right. And so I thought that DeJuan Harris, he doesn't have to be great. He just needs to be effective. Also, a double-double for Kevin McCullough. And here's the thing is, like, not all these guys have to play well, but they needed to kind of work on a night-in, night-out basis because of lack of depth. They got 6 points off the bench tonight out of the 77 that they scored. That does not work for most teams, but it works for them. On the other side of things, the big key, 2 things. They made the Kentucky work, I thought, for really good perimeter shots. I thought that was a huge key. And then Oscar Tshiebwe did not get going until late in the game. He had 18 points. He had 9 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 3 turnovers. And so as efficient of a night as he had, they did a really good job of kind of holding him down until late in the game. And Jay Billis, guys, if you all had the audio on in the broadcast, Jay Billis was clamoring, screaming, basically, metaphorically screaming, basically saying, toss him the ball, toss him the ball, toss him the ball. And look, he's such an effective player. Like, he's so good with that rip through over the top. You'll see it. There was one rip through last night where KJ had him to the inside, basically played him to the inside. Oscar had to go to his right hand. Jalen kind of came in from the side to kind of make it tougher. Really good job from Tshiebwe ripping the ball over the top and then finishing. He's so good. He's also very good at using those shoulders and that form, that figure he's got. He's a thick guy, using that to seal people off. It's usually lights out. Like, he's not just a bully down there. He actually has a lot of good touch around the rim. He's a very effective offensive player. It's not just putbacks all the time. The guy does have a good offensive game. That's why he was so efficient. He's a good free throw shooter as well, too. He was, he was a good free throw shooter last night. On the year for Tshiebwe, he is 68%, which actually is improving for him. But yeah, I thought they did a good job defensively, and look, part of it was Kentucky's irresponsibility not getting the basketball, but a part of it, defensively, 2 for 13 from 3. The one thing people have been saying about Kentucky is that the shooting from distance had gotten better, right? I think Reeves, Wallace, and Frederick are their shooters. Last night, Reeves, 30 minutes off the bench, 0 for 3. CJ Frederick, 29 minutes as a starter, 0 for 5. Cason Wallace did go 2 for 3, but he's the only guy who hit a 3 last night for Kentucky, 2 for 13 from 3. So while they were 50% from the floor, they were 15% from three, 49%, excuse me, from the floor. So 25 of 51. So nearly 50% shooting, but every single time there is a charge from Kentucky, KU handled it perfectly. You could just tell those guys on the Jayhawks are built for moments like this. They're experienced, they're old, they've been through the wars. Uh, we should not be surprised. I was not surprised at all that Kansas on the road at Kentucky in a spot where Bill Self was in danger of losing 4 straight after 4 days of rest, the guys were in control. Once again, not control the entire way. It got dicey, but every single time it got dicey, they made some shots. And that was huge for them. Grady Dick did not have a great night. They kind of had to get him back shooting. He's been a little bit different. 4 for 11, 1 for 5 from 3, though. 4 from the line. He's a very good free throw shooter there. So they did not get crushed in the glass. In fact, they're +5. It was an area you thought Kansas might struggle. That kind of happens sometimes in basketball. Tremendous performance there. The other big performance, I would say, from the evening that I want to hit on was Tennessee's. Just in a general sense, because here's what I think, guys. Like, I know Tennessee's not in the league. Tennessee beat what I think is becoming a very, very good Texas team. I don't believe this is the last time that a Big 12 team will run into the Tennessee Volunteers. If teams in this Big 12 keep playing as well as I think they do, especially come tournament time, and Tennessee plays as well as they look like they might play come tournament time, that's arguably the best basketball team in the country. You might say, hey, are you worried about where that last shot might come from, the big basket? It's a fair criticism. It's a fair argument. But I think Rick Barnes would tell you that their strength is their depth. 82-71 win. Their defense has been phenomenal. Texas had to work for everything in this game. On the perimeter, every shot was difficult. In the interior, every shot was difficult. It felt like they were having a tough time getting angles and creating shots. I mean, they got crushed, absolutely crushed on the glass. 38-23, +15 were the Vols. And on a night where they shot the ball 57% from the floor, 32 from 3, and then 70% from the line, basically scored 82 points. Like, that was the kind of night they needed, because they normally don't give up above 70. Texas got above 70, but it didn't matter. Tennessee's offense was too good. Zakai Ziegler was tremendous. Our guy, I never had to pronounce his last name, Olivier, was it Nakama? The kid from Finland, the Finnish kid, had a really, really good, just call him Olivier. Big Olivier had a great night for them. And look, I don't know if it's Josiah Jordan-James or Zakai Ziegler of Escovy who's going to be the guy in the end of games. I know Ziegler likes to come off the bench, but he had 22 and 10 last night. Like, that's a really, really good basketball player that they have. The kid's just a sophomore. So I think they've got a bunch of good pieces. I think because their defense is awesome. I think a lot of people in the Big 12 might say, well, Rick Barnes, come tournament time, I'll take my chances against that. Sure. And this is all to say, like, I'm not going to dock Texas at all for this performance. That is a very challenging place to go in and win. And they mounted a late rally, but Tennessee's defense to me was too good. Marcus Carr had a miserable night shooting. Timmy Allen really couldn't get himself going in this game because he had 4 fouls and only played 19 minutes. Dylan Disu was not that impressive in this game either. And Brock Cunningham came in and he was fouling too. They had a tough time in the paint. It felt like, it felt like Tennessee was the tougher team last night. And look, Texas is more of a finesse team, so that's why you'd favor a team like Tennessee. Maybe we see on the road what kind of situation that would be, but Tennessee's 18-3 and turning away Texas, who was still 17-4, mind you. I thought was really impressive. I thought it was very impressive, but still, I'm not going to say I'm lower on Texas. Like, I don't think this Texas Nash championship team, I think the inside presence, something that we could definitely discuss, is lacking for them. But Rodney Terry, that team's got confidence. It never felt like they were fully out of the game last night. Never felt like they were fully out of the game. So I think he deserves some credit for that. All right, quick word from our sponsors before we keep going on the games, because we have some big injury news from one of the 4:00 games. That's coming up here in a second. But first, a word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you all by the FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment matter more with the FanDuel Sportsbook, guys. They've got same game parlays. You can do teasers, which is you take one line, another line, and you can, shift those lines together. Let's see what else we have over the FanDuel Sportsbook. They've got obviously player props, things like that. That is where I get my lines from every single week. If you guys want to tail my picks right now, Big 12 hoops, we had a 4-2 week. We are 14-4-1 against the spread on the year. FanDuel is a place where I am placing my action. It can be the same for you all today. FanDuel.com/locked on. You place a $5 bet if you are new to the app. And then you guys get $150 in free bets. That's right. Just a $5 bet for new customers gets you $150 in free bets over there at FanDuel. Make every moment matter more with FanDuel Sports Book. All right, so I think significant news. We have not heard, as you all are seeing this right now, or as I'm recording this, maybe when you guys see this, it's different. Not heard any news on Mike Miles. That is big. They did not have Eddie Lampkin. Mike Miles gets hurt in the game, and they lose. Now, they took Mississippi State to overtime, but it was kind of a reminder that, look, they had a tough time. I think the kid's name's Jones on the inside. I haven't watched much Mississippi State this year. They had a tough time on the interior. They just could not really stop the offensive rebounding charge and just a general rebounding charge that Mississippi State put on them. 12 offensive boards for Mississippi State in total. They were able to be +9 in that category. So while TCU got really good efforts from Damian Baugh, and I thought Emmanuel Miller was really good, obviously Chuck O'Bannon stepping up, Wells again had a nice game off the bench. It's really important for them because, like, if they go up against a team with a big, they need a guy like Eddie Lampkin. If they're going to go smaller at times, which you can do to attack big teams, they need the ultimate shot creator and bad shot maker in Mike Miles Jr. I will once again give them a ton of credit for on the road fighting back. They could have rolled over a little bit. This team did not do it. They didn't shoot the ball well from three or from inside the arc. They didn't take care of the ball very, I thought the best at times. They fouled a ton. And so credit Mississippi State for getting the job done and kind of toughing this victory out because Mississippi State, they needed it. But the big difference in this game was Toulouse Smith, the big guy. It was 11 for 13, 27 and 13, 5 assists too for him. So it kind of shows you the interior presence of Toulouse Smith being big for Mississippi State, who almost beat Bama the other night, and they get a big win against TCU. Hopefully I think it's a strain is what Jeff Goodman said, or hyperextension for Mike Miles with the leg injury. Let's hope that it's not anything more than that. He is a great player. I have talked at length about how good I think TCU can be this year. So let's hope they get him back. But that's why I wanted to go that direction, just to kind of get that piece of news, because TCU, look, if you're going to be injured, now is the time, right? February. But that is a good and deep team when they've got everyone available. I think you actually saw some of their depth yesterday because the guys had to come in and make things happen for them. So just wanted to note that in that loss. The Big 12, SEC Big 12 Challenge was secured by a Kansas State win, but not before Baylor toughed one out against Arkansas. Look, Baylor 67-64 final in this game. Arkansas had a chance late. Ricky Council is a fantastic player, 25 points for them yesterday. But Keontae George got back to his professional scoring, 8 for 20, 2 of 5 from deep, 6-6 from the line, 24 points on the evening, 2 had 3 assists and 3 rebounds. You also get LJ Cryer going for 20 on a night where Adam Flagler was downright awful. So here is my Baylor thought. I don't know if JTT Jonathan Chamachach was coming back. I think this team is roughly at its ceiling. Now, the good news for them is they're 16-5, and they're on a run right now where they have won 6 games in a row. They have won on a run right now where it's at Texas Tech, at OU, Kansas, Arkansas. Now they play at Texas on Monday night. So I'm trying to think about how to really put this correctly. So their best attribute is the fact that they've got a bunch of different guys that could hurt you. If Flagler goes for 20, you're not surprised. If Cryer goes for 20, you're not surprised. If Keontae George goes for 20, you're not surprised. If Jalen Bridges chips in 15, or we get, Langston Love playing really well, who's obviously a very high recruit and very talented player, you're not surprised. The problem for them is they can go on scoring droughts, and they also give up big runs. So while they go on runs, they also give up big runs. I think the one area where I'm saying, they keep beating really good teams, I'm not overly worried, is they've got Scott Drews. Maybe they'll shore some things up, but that team to me looks like a Sweet 16, Elite 8 team. I'm not positive that they're a Final Four team. Look, Keontae George is the most talented player that I think maybe even if you factor in the Davion Mitchell, Jared Butler, Maceo Teague team, if you put all the guards together, so let's just say Teague, Butler, Cryer, George, Flagler, Love, all those guys together, Keontae George is the most talented. But what you do have to say about that one group that was Teague, Butler, and Mitchell, they were all old by the end of that day, or older by the end of that run that they had together, right? So these are veteran, talented, good players, and not as talented as Keontae, but good veterans who are talented players who know how to play with each other and can score. I think this group's had a lot of work together. They've played very, very well. Obviously, they're hitting their stride. I'm wondering what that looks like. And because, it's so funny, I guess my brain is just not wired properly because I'm thinking like, can they win a national championship? But guys, like, that's what the teams in this league do. Tech competed for one, Kansas won one, or Baylor won one first, then KU won one. K-State's a top 10 basketball team right now. TCU looks like, they could just be violent in transition, at what they did to KU. My God, at Allen Fieldhouse, nobody does that. We have an elite defensive team in Iowa State. We've got a team, and I mentioned already K-State before, but all of these teams that we're talking about right now, Texas too, right? 17-4 on the year, and they've got talented scorers in Marcus Carr and Tyrese Hunter. And so I guess it's difficult to think about these teams like not in context of could they win a championship, especially in a place like Baylor where we already saw one of their teams just do that 2 years ago. So I don't want to diminish them at all. I don't want to demean them, but KU got back in that game and really should not have. And I think they were pretty confident they could. Now Baylor finished them off. Good job to them, right? Arkansas had a chance late in that game. It really felt like they should not have had a chance, but Baylor let them back in. Come tournament time, come Sweet 16, somebody will finish them off. I'm not sure who. And look, once again, they're beating high caliber teams right now. But you put on a neutral floor, they're not at the Farrell Center. Somebody's going to do the job against Baylor if they keep going like this. So I think for me, the big thing is stay good on defense, improve on. It's not as good a defensive team as they've had in the past. And then for them on offense, they've got to be careful about stagnation towards the end of games. This is a good win. I think Arkansas is a good team. I know they've had a bunch of issues, and losing Nick Smith that we hear and they're going to get back is great. And then Trayvon Brazile for the year is tough because he is a freak of an athlete and really good player. So I think, that's a good win. It's a quality win, but like they almost got. They almost got in this game. And Baylor's on a 6-game winning streak, and they're now very, very dangerous. But do I feel like there's still something left in the tank for them? Yes. Maybe it's getting JTT back and they start having more success in pick and roll situations and getting guys moving towards the rim, because like, how afraid of you are the guys rolling right now on that team? How afraid of Bridges and Flo Thamba, are you right now from this team? I'm not sure if you are. If you add a guy, obviously like Chama Chachua back, that adds a whole different element to this. And look, I think like Caleb Lohner, that's a guy too that is decent roller, but like these guys are not massive threats if you put them in pick and roll. They run that dribble handoff thing and they like to kind of switch things up and get the matchup and see what they run it 3 times and then they'll attack whatever. It works. They're on fire right now. Definitely a talented team. Look, if all these guys just go dummy and can't stop scoring, like then it's a different conversation, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. Flagler 1 for 11 last night. Offense really stagnated against KU. All of this stuff is something to watch, I think, moving forward. All right, let's hit K-State really fast here. K-State blows out Florida in the first half, lets them back in the second half, and then finishes the job there really in the second half after that run was over. They end up winning 64-50. Florida's a slow starting team. It's not a great offensive team. They're around the bubble. K-State still trying to find like that top gear wire to wire. It's tough to do. It's college basketball. So like teams will make runs on you, but this was an offensive night where it started well. It did not end particularly well for them. And their defense was really what got the job done for them that first half. They only allowed 16 points, right? They allowed 16 in the first half. In the first 5 minutes of the game, the second half, Florida scored 12, or first 3 minutes, I think it was, they scored 12. So K-State cools off in the second half, but really, when you're up 21 at halftime, like it's going to have to be a massive run. So good for them getting their stinker out of the way. They clinched. They got the job done. This was not K-State's best performance, but they're 12-0 at home. Why does it matter, right? Why does it really, really matter? And also, they did, I thought, a very, very good job with Colin Castleton. They did not just go crazy off. 13-8 in this game, 6 for 12 on the floor. So it's an efficient night somewhat most standards, but like sometimes guys like that, and I'll see what Castleton's shooting on the season. So he's around 50%. So he's actually right there at the season average. But guys like that can have big nights, and I thought they did a good job. Sometimes he was pretty good in the interior. This is not a great night for Keontae Johnson scoring wise, but still has 13 and 11. 5 for 16 from the floor, right? Marquise Noel, 4 for 9, decent night, 2-4 from deep. They were not awesome from 3-point land. 4 for 17 was K-State, but still, you'll take the win, right? And any night where you shoot 38% from the floor, 24% from 3, and 67% from the line, and you win by 14, you will take it. And that means your defense was fantastic, and theirs was. Besides that small run to open things up second half, didn't feel like Florida was really ever much of a threat to win this basketball game. So K-State, they were the ones who kind of sealed the challenge for actually Oklahoma State might have been, but that later session went really, really well. Obviously Baylor gets the win and Mississippi State gets the loss, but then you get KU winning, you get K-State winning, and then you get Oklahoma State winning. And that's we'll end this show really fast. Oklahoma State, just, it's sad that they didn't get a better opportunity against a good team at home. That's how this thing works. They blew the doors off Ole Miss. They win by 22, 82-60. That team, not sure if they quit on Kermit Davis just yet, but it's getting awfully dangerously close. 53% from the floor for Oklahoma State, 35% from 3, 22 of 25 from the line. They overcame a bad, a lot of turnovers, 13 turnovers in this game. And that's like a terrible, massive amount. All right. Some closing thoughts here because we have to go watch some football. So what does winning the SEC Big 12 Challenge mean? I mean, the matchups are weird, so I'm not going to say it means anything in particular, anything super serious. I love getting the win, but it just reaffirms something that we already knew. We already knew that the Big 12 was the best basketball conference in the country. It's pretty much it's a fact. Like, even after the Big 12 lost the Big 12 SEC Challenge last year, we knew that. I think it's more of an individual case-by-case basis. Like, I'm not worried about Texas after the Tennessee loss, right? I love the heart that we saw from Bill Self's team. This is not a team that has any interest in setting a new bar for Bill Self with 4 straight losses. K-State allowing 50 points at home, even though they didn't shoot the ball well at all and getting a win, was massive. Oklahoma State, the worst team in this league, hammering a bottom team in the SEC, shows you where Oklahoma State is right now. Oklahoma, I'm kind of forgetting the early games, pummeling Alabama, shows you how good of a coach that Porter Moser can be and how the talent level in that team, while it's low, they still have plenty of potential to get stuff done. Iowa State, I think the weaknesses they showed, right? The fact that, okay, on the road, we got a little bit sped up and we turned the ball over a bunch. That's a massive factor for them as well. Can that be repeated maybe by another team in this league? KU couldn't do it. Missouri did it. Is Iowa State going to be a team that's just home on the road? West Virginia has now put themselves together on a nice run where they're collecting wins that are going to assist them on a tournament resume. They've beaten TCU at home. They have beaten Texas Tech at Texas Tech, which is a nice win. And they then beat Auburn yesterday at home. It's top 30 team in the net in Ken Pong. And so what does that mean for them? A quad 1 win, and it helps build that resume for them. So maybe as a whole, I mean, look, this is the best basketball league in the country. We knew that. But maybe you look at the individual results, talking about affirmations or maybe some questions. I think that's where this is really interesting. Once again, the Big 12 shows their supremacy. I want to thank LinkedIn for sponsoring today's show. I want to thank the FanDuel Sportsbook as well for sponsoring today's show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You guys can find me at @JoshNeighbors_. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.